Hi everybody! In today's video I'll talk about my possible exit routes. Some of you told me a while back that it would be interesting to see how I'm planning to withdraw money from my investments once I hit my big number. And as outlandish as it seems to think about it now, where I'm nowhere near that number, we could agree that with a bit of imagination, anything is possible. In case you haven't seen me before, I'm Marta. I'm a designer living in London, and this channel is my personal finance and good life playground. If you're into either of these, feel free to subscribe, and welcome. Every time I think about the term exit strategy, I think of Jim Morrison, The Doors and The End. Some of you might know that song, but then again, most of you probably don't. Never mind. What do you think of when you hear exit strategy mentioned? It would be cool to hear, so please let me know in the comments. I wonder how many of you actually think of investments. Now, what do I mean by my exit strategy? I certainly don't mean my big number, which I already discussed in this video. And I'm also not into portfolio rebalancing, asset allocation, and so on and so forth. It's all about the moment in the journey to financial freedom where I've just landed and walk around the arrivals terminal. So let's assume that I have the big stash, in my case £700,000, in my investment account. Accumulation has come to an end and withdrawal stage is here. So now comes the big question: what year is it and how old am I? And the answer is 1. Nobody knows. And so I need to add some more to the pile of my assumptions. I have 700k in my investment accounts and I'm 50. Nice round number, and the year is now. After all, who knows what changes in taxation, pensions and interest rates await us in the future. It's much easier and much useful to consider my exit strategy, imagining it I need to deal with it now, in this very moment. So let's do exactly that. So first things first, my investments are split 50-50 between my ISA and my SIPP. So this means 350k in each. I'm 50, and so I won't be able to touch my SIPP for another 6 years. As you most probably know, the current rule is private pension can be touched, and by touched I mean withdrawn in a tax-efficient way without any penalties. Basically, the age of consent of a private pension is 10 years before your state pension age. So because we have 2021, that is at the age of 66. But my generation is already expected to wait another 2 years because state pension age will be increased by the time I actually do retire to 68. Lovely. So let's talk about route 1. Route 1 is London, work and play with a mortgage. So my first exit route is very much London-based. I stay put. I still have a mortgage to pay. So how much money do I want to withdraw from my retirement fund this year? 10.5k. This is because I still generate income, an odd design contract here and there, or a side hustle that's fun enough to be worth my while. So how much do I make? Hopefully enough to cover all my expenses and pay national insurance contributions, so about 18k per year. That's less than 6 months of work. So if you wonder why I still bother with national insurance contributions, this is to make sure I qualify for the maximum amount of the state pension. Right now I need 35 years of national insurance contributions, so I'm missing quite a few. Now, I know that relying on a state pension is optimistic, and all the doom and gloom theorists predict state pension will cease to exist in the future. But I'm an optimist, and so I will take the state pension this year in 2021 into account. So 18k post-tax income, 10.5k from my ISA tax-free, and this money is my official fun money. So it will be used on anything from my vision board. experiences like this one, or this one, or this one, and getting quite a few of these, as I will have much more time to read more of them. The second route is what I call bye-bye London, work and play, no mortgage. So in this route, I sell my house and move somewhere where I, or we, together with my boyfriend Adam, can buy something outright. No mortgage means my yearly living expenses are lowered by about £10,000. So I still work and I aim to make 18k per year post-tax, but it's not a big deal if I make 10k or 12k. I take the same amount from my ISA, so 10.5k, so it's tax-free per year, and that will be adjusted for inflation. And this is my fun money. All right, so let's take a look at these numbers closer to make sure they don't come out of thin air. If you remember my video about the 4% rule, you know the assumptions and calculations of the pension experts. My 10.5k per year is a 3.5% withdrawal rate of 300k. So my small number. In reality, if I hit my big number, I could withdraw 24.5k per year adjusted for inflation for another 40 years or so. But I prefer being cautious in those first years of my early retirement, so this is the withdrawal rate I'd go for initially. I read a lot about withdrawal stage anxiety, and knowing myself to be a classic warrior, I'm pretty sure that will happen to me too. And so, both versions of events, Route 1 and Route 2, will continue for a while. This strategy is to make only ISA withdrawals until age 56, pay off my mortgage, either immediately or regularly. Of course, that will affect the way I withdraw the money as well, and then get my hands on that SIPP. So in short, avoid tax as much as possible. So now I'm 56, the year is 2027, and this is what my early retirement looks like. Assuming again, no adjustment for inflation, no growth, and no reduction of my investments. So my SIPP stands at 350k and my ISA at 297.5k. So what do I do now? I can withdraw 25% of my SIPP tax-free. I can do it once or in lump sums. So which options do I go for? At once. And so I withdraw 87.5k from my SIPP. What do I do with it? One of these things. I keep enough to cover my expenses for a year or two and put the rest into my ISA to let it recover a bit. Or I spend it. This could be investing in a BTL property, or revamp my house, or go on a trip around the world. Hey, I've officially retired and so can go loony for once. Of course, it's not clever, as that's a very unwise and extremely unsafe withdrawal rate of 25% in 1 year, but let's see where it leads me. The year 2029 is here, I'm 58, and I decide that I don't want to work at all anymore. This is highly unlikely, as I get bored very quickly. But let's assume this to see if I can afford it. So my retirement fund didn't shrink, and it didn't grow either. So it stands at this. My SIPP is 262.5 and my ISA is 297.5. So things are not looking great. So let's hope these funds do grow a bit in those 8 years. And let's be generous and assume that they do, and I have 300k in each. And so I can safely withdraw 10.5k from my SIPP and 10.5k from my ISA for the next 40 years, until I'm 98, if I'm still alive by then. On my 66th birthday, I get a bonus, my first state pension. So currently it's slightly over 9k. So this means I can once again reduce the amounts I withdraw from my early retirement fund, or not, and just do more of this, and this, or this. One last thing. If you ask, what about fees? They covered by my income and then, of course, become part of my expenses. So what about adjusting for inflation? I know I simplify things quite a lot here. It's all an exercise in imagination. I'm not 50 this year. My early retirement fund is not even close to 700k. And who knows what happens in the future? But it's good to sometimes do a bit of wishful thinking mixed with calculations. So here we are, guys. This is what, with some imagination and current pension rules, 2 of my exit routes could look like. There are more options than what I discussed in this video. I could stop working immediately, or I could buy an annuity instead of withdrawing the pension myself from my SIPP. I could plan for some years with smaller withdrawals and some with bigger withdrawals. And of course, I could completely change my plan after reaching my small number, that 300k. So if you'd like me to explore those other options, let me know in the comments. Hope you enjoyed this video, and if you haven't told me what comes to your mind when you hear exit strategy, do it now. And if you're an investor yourself, feel free to pick my exit routes apart or share your strategy. It's always great to read about your perspective on things. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.